What's up, guys? VitalSyntax here, and this is my first look at Insurgency, which is a tactical first-person shooter that was just released on Steam for $14.99. So in this video, I'm going to give you the basic rundown of what this game is, what it isn't, and why you should buy it if you're interested in the type of gameplay that it offers, because it's definitely not for everybody. To summarize it in as quick as I possibly can, it's, to me, essentially a mix of Counter-Strike and Red Orchestra 2. Which are two games that are very different. So how are they actually kind of intertwined? Well, it's like Counter-Strike because it runs on the Source engine. It looks a lot like Counter-Strike. It kind of feels like Counter-Strike. The movement feels like Counter-Strike. Some of the recoil things and a lot of the gunplay, the map design, the look and feel of the game is reminiscent of Counter-Strike, which is definitely a good thing because it runs well. It has a lot of graphical options. It has all those features that a Source game provides. But it's also like something like Red Orchestra 2, Rising Storm, or Red Orchestra 2, just the base game, because it is very tactical. It's a very slow-paced game. You die extremely quickly, and it's a very hardcore-focused game. So you're not going to have crosshairs, you're not going to have hit markers, you're not going to have kill feeds, you're not going to have good hip-fire accuracy, you're not going to be able to kill people with a ton of bullets. It's very quick, very fast action, and it's very team-oriented. I don't even know if there's a team deathmatch game mode. If there is, I haven't even touched it. The game modes that I've played are essentially search and destroy, where you have an attacking team, a defending team, where you're trying to take out certain bomb sites by blowing them up, weapon caches, and then you also have the search and or is it VIP game mode, where you have one guy from the defensive team that's trying to get their VIP to a certain location, and the other team is just trying to murder everybody. And then the last game mode is kind of a mix on domination or conquest from Battlefield or Call of Duty, just a flag-based game mode, but it has a really cool twist on it in the sense that if you die, you don't respawn until your team captures an enemy flag point. And both teams start out with one flag point captured, and then the central B flag point is kind of neutral. All three of those game modes are really well done. There are slight tweaks to existing game modes that we've seen in older games, games that have been out for a while, but they're different enough that they're interesting, and they're different enough that they make the game intense, because they all kind of focus on this idea of once you die, you're not going to just respawn instantly. And even in Red Orchestra 2, you typically have a long respawn, 20, 30 seconds, but this game is like when you die, you're only going to respawn if your team, captures an objective, or if your team blows up a weapon cache. Or if the round ends and you start a new round, or the game ends and you start a new game. So it makes the value of life much more intense, and that means that every firefight that you come into, every time you see another player, it's extremely intense. It's almost the same idea you get from playing something like DayZ, where if you die, you lose all your loot. It's not quite that intense, because obviously it's a round-based game. You're going to respawn at the end of the round. You're not going to lose any of your items, but it is a very intense experience, which is something that I like a lot about the game, and I hope more first-person shooters kind of focus on that, because giving value to a player's life, this sounds emotional, but it's not at all. I'm just saying, like, making it so that you're worried about dying makes it every encounter that much more intense, and it makes it that much more enjoyable. And that's something that this game does extremely well with the different game modes that it offers. As far as weapons go, there's not a huge selection. You got basic things like the M4, which I think is the MK18 in this. You got the M16 and AKM, or I think it's the AK-74M. You've got an AK you've got a SAW, M249 SAW. You've got the RPK light machine gun. You got an M40 sniper rifle. I think there's an SVD sniper. You got a SKS, an M14. A Makarov, an M9, there's a grenade launcher, I think there's the AT4 as well as the RPG. You've got frag grenades, flash grenades, smoke grenades, a couple of other items that I'm probably forgetting. I guess there's also the UMP-45 submachine gun, the MK5 submachine gun. So there's a good selection, but there's not a huge variety. I think there's maybe 3-4 assault rifles, 2-3 submachine guns, about 2 light machine guns, 2 snipers, 2 pistols, and that's about it. Now that could change over time. They could add additional maps, they could add additional game modes, additional weapons. That's something you kind of expect from a first-person shooter with the DLC or just updates in general. But even with that small plethora of guns, it's still a very enjoyable game. All of the guns feel very different, very unique, and they handle extremely well. Everything from the recoil patterns, the weight and the heft of each gun, down to the sound effects of reloading, of gunshots. All that stuff is done extremely well, and it feels very realistic. It feels very intense, and it's very rewarding to get a kill, because it actually takes a lot of skill. It's not just hip firing and spraying. It's you actually have to take your time, switch to single fire, make sure your shots are on target. And that's something that a lot of games, don't do today. And that's something that's definitely a pleasant change with Insurgency. So overall, my opinions of the game are extremely positive, especially at the $15 or $14.99 price point. I think it's worth every penny. It's a really good game to play with your friends or play with a group of buddies, and I could see it becoming a very popular competitive game. Hell, I would enjoy playing in a competitive type of environment on a team because it's very team oriented. There's no kind of like lone wolf mentality. There's a lot of communication that's going on in game with the voiceover communications, or if you're in TeamSpeak or Skype or Mumble or something like that, it's also a really good way to kind of work as a team, because you can't just play this by yourself. You have to be communicating. You can't just lone wolf it, because there's objectives in the game modes, and those objectives are incredibly important, and it's a lot easier to take them or defend them when you're communicating with your teammates. And that's kind of throttled by the fact that, by a couple things. Number one, you can't see if you kill somebody. You don't know if they're dead until you actually see their body on the ground. And if somebody dies, there's no kill feed or anything like that everybody's going to see. So you need to call out whenever you get a kill. You can count how many people are left on the enemy team. You don't just know from looking at the scoreboard how many people are left on the enemy team. And that's a good thing to understand and know about your enemy team is, how many people are left? How many people are we still facing? So communication among those things is really important to know, like which side of the map, enemies are pushing on, or which side of the map they're retreating on or defending on or falling back, or where people are camping, or, I get killed by a teammate. You want to call out those locations. You don't just see a blip on the mini map, because there is no mini map. There is a mini map, but you have to open it up. So it's more of like an actual map instead of a mini map. And it also doesn't show just like enemy locations when they shoot. It just basically shows where the objectives are, what status the objectives are in, and also where your teammates are. So it's a very hardcore game. There's a lot of things that are kind of stripped out of the game that make it more difficult and more challenging, but they also at the same time make it more rewarding and more enjoyable to, I guess, play as a team or play as a squad. So right here we're playing Search and Destroy, which once again is pretty basic game mode, but there's a couple twists on it. So the defending team has 2 objectives that they're trying to defend, but the attacking team has 3 locations that the bomb could potentially be at. So they actually have to go to them and figure out, okay, out of these 3, which 2 are actually housing the weapon cache, and then they have to either have rockets, grenades, or C4 to destroy those weapon caches. And if they destroy both of them, then they win. If they only destroy one and they get killed, then they lose. Or if they only destroy one or don't destroy any and the time runs out, then they lose. Every time a objective gets taken out, both teams respawn. Now, if you're still alive from before the bomb was blown up, then you don't respawn. But if you're killed, then you get the respawn from either attacking or defending team. So there's a couple of tactics that kind of you can deploy. One that's actually pretty useful is if you're on defending team and you still have both objectives captured and you're the only one left, just let them blow up one of the bases. Make sure you camp and control one of the bases, but let them blow up the other one. That way your entire team respawns and you actually have somewhat of a chance of taking out the enemy teams instead of just kind of trying to do it lone wolf. So it's an interesting twist on Search and Destroy, and it's definitely a welcome change. Now, as far as the other game modes go, something like VIP has some cool kind of dynamics as well. You could, for example, send your entire team as the VIP team to one side. That way, the defending team thinks, oh, they're sending their VIP this way, and then just send the VIP by himself, lone wolf, to just flank around the rest of the map and get to the second extraction point, because there's always 2 extraction points on either kind of side of the map. So there's a lot of like tactics that you can deploy, and once again, communication to kind of move along those tactics is extremely important and extremely key. And then the third game mode is, I think it's called Firefight, and it's basically a mix on the like kind of flag-based game modes like Conquest or Domination, where you have 3 flag points, and whenever you capture one, your team respawns. So, and at the same time, if you capture all 3 points, all 3 flag points, then you win that round and you just go into the next round. Now, typically in the servers, it seems like it's the first to win 3 rounds. I'm not sure if this is going to be adjustable or changeable, but that's how it seemed most servers were running things. If you win 3 rounds, it's basically first 2-3, not best out of 3, which is a little bit different. But that game mode's also quite awesome, and it's a kind of a little twist on it. All 3 of them focus once again on value of life. It's not just like you instantly die and respawn, or you even die and then 20 seconds later you respawn. It's, you're only going to respawn if your team is actually playing the objective. So it puts even more emphasis rather than just winning the game, but also, you know, helping your team out and letting them respawn, puts more emphasis on those objective points. So far I said a lot of good things about this game. The game modes are awesome. The maps are really well designed. The graphics are, you know, they're good enough. It performs really well. Graphics options are all there in the settings. It's really fun to play. It's just a good game all around. Well, what are the issues with the game? What things could be improved on? Well, there's a couple of things, but there's not a whole lot. The first one, I think, is that they need to add more content. They need more weapons. They need more maps, and maybe some more game modes, although I'm really satisfied with the 3 game modes that I've played. But just some more content would be nice. I would kind of expect that to be in a DLC, though, because you're only paying $15 for this. So I wouldn't mind paying another $5 for a weapon pack that has another, you know, 10 guns in it or 5 guns in it and a couple maps. But I would like a little bit more content for this game, which would be kind of nice. And then the second thing that could be a little bit, you know, fixed about it is just crashing. It seems like whenever you get hit by an RPG, sometimes you'll die, or whenever there's a large explosion that goes off, your game can sometimes crash. Which is kind of annoying. It doesn't happen to me all that often, but some of the people I've been playing with have some issues with stability and crashing. And then the biggest thing for me, in regards to things that I think could be fixed, is they need to implement a feature that allows you to play with your teammates or your friends easier. Because right now it's like you join a game and hopefully you're on the same team. If you're not, you can sometimes switch. Sometimes it auto balances you. They need a squad system so you can join off a friend and always play with your friend, because it's kind of frustrating. But I mean, other than that, this game is awesome. I can highly recommend it for people that like tactical first-person shooters. If you're, you know, run and gun Call of Duty player, it's not going to be your cup of tea. If you're a Battlefield player, it might not be your cup of tea. But if you like things like Red Orchestra 2, if you like those tactical first-person, very intense, quick death in succession, team-based game modes, it's easily one of the best first-person shooters out there that I've played recently. So, thumbs up. Thanks for making this game. It's awesome, and I'll definitely be making some more videos on it pretty soon. Thanks for watching. See you guys later.